Welcome back to the Battlefield 2042 safe space, where we talk everything about the game as low sodium as possible, and at the end of the day, we keep the conversation civil. This video is going to be slightly different than the other two I've done on the game, because firstly, this isn't just my thoughts. I'll be responding to your feedback on the game, specifically Season 1, what you like and what you don't like, and what you'd like to see in the future. Secondly, this video is going to be unscripted. I feel it would be better just to give my thoughts on the comments as we go, and not really have me reading from a script. Now we're going to kick this feedback off with comments from the Reddit page. Firstly, from my favourite username of the bunch, Shrek Pappy, says, Season 1 was a massive improvement in gameplay, and getting much closer to a more fleshed out UI, which I agree with. 100%, the UI especially has been upgraded vastly this season, and the gameplay feels a lot smoother and more Battlefield-like. He says, yes, content is less than normal, but I would rather have one excellent new map than 3 hourglassy maps. I fully think it's headed in the right direction, and I have confidence in the team that they will bring back players and reverse the negative perception the game has. This is a really optimistic view and one that I agree with, and I hope happens, because this one map has proved that the team still has it. They've still got what it takes to make a good Battlefield map and Battlefield game. They just need more time to make more of it, and I really hope that Season 4 doesn't spell the end of the sport for this game like Battlefield 5 did. Our next commenter, Dead Zigs, has a really nice summary of this season and their thoughts on it. Exposure, best map yet, which I fully agree with. It is the most fun to play, even for me out of the Portal maps. I do really enjoy Caspian Border, Nostra Canals, and both Bad Company maps. Valparaiso has climbed the ranks of Battlefield rankings for me in terms of maps, but Exposure is just so much fun. The verticality, the open spaces, the inside places, the map just flows, it works. So I 100% agree with what they're saying here about Exposure. Now, let's move on to the next part of the comment, which is on Liz, saying that it's a pretty funny class, although a little bit overpowered if everyone's using it at the same time. Now, as a console player, Liz's controls just aren't it compared to PC. I find it really difficult, and I'm struggling to control her missile properly, but on PC, especially with multiple like they're saying, it's really hard to avoid them in helicopters unless you're in the new Stealth, or maybe the Hokum or Little Bird, especially transport helis, they're easily caught up with and taken out. So yeah, I agree with them on that front. On the new gun, the BSVM, fun at close range and fun at long range, 100%, is really versatile, great gun. They state that the R10 Ghostmaker is a fun troll gun to mess about with when unlocking the explosive bolts. Now I haven't done that because I'm not as good as other people with this gun. I really struggle with one-hit guns, especially stuff like this, which has long reload times. I'm having fun with it, I really am, but I'm not that great. But I can see that the explosive bolts are actually pretty useful and fun and are really good. I am better than you to whoever you kill them with. For the two new helis, he states that they're OP, which in the right hands, I probably agree with, but I have seen a lot of them being taken out by especially Liz's rocket launcher, for example. They are counterable, but yeah, they might need a little nerf. I'm not too versed with them. He probably knows better than I do in terms of this. For the Battle Pass, they state that the skins look okay, look fine. Some of them look really good, but there are a few more copy and paste ones than they'd like to see, which I kind of agree with. I've been pretty satisfied with the Battle Pass tiers, but there could be a little more variety, but they are really sticking with that grounded aesthetic and tone for the specialists, which I do appreciate. And finally, they're just stating that DICE needs to push more content out and get more weapons out, more vehicles, maps, and rework the maps, which I 100% agree with. We need more content for this game to keep it going. Next, we have Appropriate Answer 781 stating that the map is great, a step in the right direction, but they need to deliver more content more often. Not saying new maps every week, but after 6 months, only one new map, not even a great one, is very underwhelming. Now, I would disagree with the not very great one. I do think Exposure is a great map, but apart from the rest of your comment, yeah, I agree with completely. There needs to be more content pushed out for this game, especially map-wise. Grinding out the Battle Pass isn't that fun when I just want to play Exposure, but also Exposure is getting kind of tiresome. Even though it is great, we just need more maps like that. Our next commenter, Brownie UK7, is essentially saying the same thing. The Exposure is a good map, but we need more of the same quality. The launch maps just aren't it, and they're worried to go back to the launch maps because they're just stale compared to it. They're also asking for more maps to be brought into Portal, which I also agree with. Surely it's a no-brainer when everything is crying out for content. 100% agree with that. I would love to see more BF3 maps. Maybe not 1942, they're a bit too open for me. But Bad Company as well, definitely. Next, we have a short but sweet comment from Paul360 saying that they need to change all the maps to be more like Exposure, which I think is happening with Renewal and Kaleidoscope, but I think that maps like Hourglass really need a rework, and I'm hoping that they are in the works for that. It worries me slightly that they haven't announced any sort of plans for reworking those maps in the future. Maybe they have, maybe I've missed it, but as far as I can remember, there's been no announcement for that, which really worries me that they'll drop support after Season 4, after they've reworked those two. I really hope that doesn't happen, but I could see it happening. But yeah, they really need to rework the other maps. But Kaleidoscope and Renewal, so excited for when they come out. We'll just have to see when they do come out. Our next commenter, Dragon Gaze 13, 14 states that exposure gets repetitive pretty fast and there's no Portal content. They remove pretty much any recoil, and the update is nice for polish and it feels more fleshed out, but it should have been the case at launch, which I 100% agree with also. Exposure is great, but it is getting quite repetitive now. I really want more Portal content, which apparently is coming in the mid-season drop, new hardware for Portal. Looking forward to testing out things like the A10 when they come in. And yeah, the game should have launched like this, 100%. But I'm glad that we're at the state it is now. Just wish we could have got there sooner. Another comment from Skirt Skate states that he thinks it's absolutely bloody brilliant and is playing every day and loving it, which I feel similarly to. Sometimes the repetitiveness does set in and you get that fatigue, but there's enough maps, especially in Portal, Flashback Conquest, and Exodus Conquest. They really help to keep things livened up after playing Exposure for a while. So yeah. The next comment from Headless Vengol 95 repeats a few things that I've already talked about, so I'm going to cherry pick some of their topics to bring up. So firstly, he says that he would like more weapons and gadgets, which I also agree with, because one smoke grenade launcher and Liz's projectile, I guess counts, is less than I expected there to be. Utilities are part of what makes Battlefield fun, and if we don't get those consistently, the sandbox isn't really expanded, and a smoke grenade launcher is really helpful for medics and pushing and breakthrough, but it's just the fun factor isn't there, is it? They also say that the Battle Pass grinding for Battle Pass points is a little bit too much, and I agree with that as well. The way it progresses makes it feel like I'm not really getting anywhere with progress unless I'm doing weekly missions, and the weekly missions run out so quickly that after day one, I don't really have anything left to do. I don't progress that fast, I don't get rewards that fast because of the way that the XP cap keeps going up and up and up, the ceiling keeps going up as you progress. Blazak worries that we'll be drip fed content for the next 3 seasons, and then that'll be it. One map, one new weapon, and a heli. There just isn't enough to keep people interested for another 10 weeks. This is another worry that I also have, that they just dial back all the content. There have been the rumours about skeleton crews working on this game, and they have been refuted by EA, but it's just who you choose to believe. And I do hope that EA are telling the truth, that everybody's all hands on deck for this game. But if they aren't, we could be looking at 3 seasons of almost nothingness, and then the game gets dropped, and we move on to the next, and I really don't want that to happen. But it is a possibility, after BF5 especially, which really does annoy me, but we'll see where we go. Next, I have to shout out Dreamforger for this really long comment. It's great to see everything kind of broken down and how they view it, and it's given me a lot of insight into how people think about this game. So here we go. He states that he likes new guns but wish there are a few more and more maps. Exodus Conquest is fun and all, which has been removed temporarily for now. Really annoyed about that, but Flashback Conquest is still there, I guess. But it gets boring when on full repeat. He loves the 100 XP Portal modes as well as a change of pace. Same, I would love more BF3 and 1942 games. They're a good little novelty. They're fun. They're good to play. They do get old after a little while, but I think they should bring more BF3 modes and 1942 modes into rotation on Portal. He states that the Battle Pass is a bit too steep an XP game. 3,000 to 4,000 XP per dot would have been fine without a further increase. The free stuff is nice, and the paid seems good quality. I agree with that. All of the cosmetics, even though some of them are a bit samey, like I said before, are good. They fit the grounded feel really well, and I'd love to see more. More brought into the shop, more in the next Battle Pass. But yeah, it's great. They also say that the BSVM is overtuned, but in a pool where the K30 dominates, it might be okay and can still be beaten by other weapons, but it's clearly got the upper hand. I agree with that. I think that the versatility gives it the upper hand, and it can dominate in a lot of gunfights. Now, I don't think it's nerf worthy, but I'm not the game maker. I can't look at the stats and say it performs like this or like this or like this. It's just my experience with it. I feel like it's a good gun, but it's not going to completely destroy any other competition. They then go on to say that the Ghostmaker, most people call it a meme weapon, but they still find it cool to shoot people with the explosive arrows. Are there better alternatives? Of course there are, but it's in no means a bad weapon. I agree with as well. It just takes skill to use, skill that I really don't have with weapons like that, but yeah, it's fun. And for the people that like the Phantom Bow and BF4, it's a really good alternative to the NTW, which is also a one-hit kill in short distances. They then still go on to say about the smoke launcher that they love it, and it gives cover from snipers and tanks to advance, which I also really agree with. It's good for confusing your targets, like they say. It helped me get a few melee kills this week for the challenges by just smoking some objectives and running in with my knife and knifing people. It's great. It's really fun. Although we need more utilities that add slightly more to the sandbox in terms of mainstream, because I don't see a lot of people using it really. They say that the new choppers seem a bit overtuned as well, and really easy to fly to the point where you can fly them without killing my crew. So yeah, that's a good comment to make. But yeah, it's good. But at the end of the day, I'm less than a chopper expert. The new map is also a good mix between CQC and open areas. There are a few other maps like this, and they feel like they could have done with at least 2 more maps done by this time, which I also agree with, but they did have to go through the stages of reworking exposure based on feedback, and they're also reworking 2 of the base main maps on top of the new ones coming out, so we'll just have to see what they give us. So all in all, the quality is good, but the quantity is a bit on the low side. They're fixing a lot of stuff, and they're not pulling an Anthem, which is good to see, but they wish they could make it right from the start instead of this trend of turning it around in 6 to 12 months. I agree with everything being said here, essentially. There needs to be more content of this quality going forward at a more consistent rate. Just hit that target of 12 weeks per season. We'll have a consistent flow of maps coming out, weapons coming out, vehicles coming out, gadgets coming out. The community will be happier, as long as the fixes keep rolling forward too. Moving on from that, we have John Wood 007 saying that he's starting to dislike the new map. It wasn't bad on Conquest, but it sucks on Breakthrough. They like the VSS. If anything, it's a bit OP, and the other new content seems to change very little. I can see where he's coming from on this. I really like Exposure, even on Breakthrough. Maybe the first capture point is a little bit spammy, but the rest of them, I really enjoy fighting. And Conquest is just great all around. I also really like the VSS, but I can't really see it being OP at the moment. It just depends what build you put on it, and at what ranges. If you're quick at switching it, using that versatility, then yeah, I can see where he's coming from. And the rest of the content, I just think we need more of it. I think it changes the game in a fair way, but yeah, we do need more of it. Next, we have Krypton091 stating that the game feels amazing to them, and they don't get how people can say it isn't a real Battlefield game or has core issues, which I also agree with. At no point have I thought to myself, this is not a Battlefield game. It still feels like Battlefield. Even with all the specialists, all the changes, I don't feel like it deviates too much from the original formula. It just expands. Whether or not you like that is another thing entirely, and I respect your opinion, whatever you think, but I don't think it changes too much for me. Now for our last 2 comments, we're going to shift over to the YouTube side of things. On the original, it is illegal to like this game video. We have Arielis78, I believe that's pronounced, saying that they like this game too, never had any complaints, and DICE is really improving with the updates. But the one thing they don't like is how the vehicle players have been kind of screwed over. The fact that you can only have 1 attack helicopter or attack jet in the sky at once, and they state that they feel like jets should be given their own category, which I also agree with. It's really cool seeing jets go around for one thing, and also it feels a lot more balanced if you have those vehicles that are tuned to taking out air vehicles. I guess Liz fits that category now, but I think it's cool to Battlefield to have those jets around, and since they're not farming infantry, I feel like they still have their place. I feel like narrowing that down to just 1 sky attack vehicle wasn't the right choice, but we'll see where they move in the future with that. And finally, from the YouTube side of things, we have Tetsu saying that they really enjoy the game too, but they don't trust DICE to keep their word of fixing the game and continuing support like they did with Battlefront 2 and the Battlefield 5. Both games were gut punches for him when they announced they wouldn't be releasing any more updates. Now, this is also one of my biggest fears. Pulling support from this game to work on something else, to work on the next Battlefield game, maybe the next Battlefront game. Although I'd love those, I really want this game to be focused on, and it's clear that the DICE devs do also want that. If it's going to be anyone's decision, more than likely it's going to be EA's. The higher ups are going to say, well, this isn't making us money, whoever they think, and pull support. And it's clear from the devlogs that DICE really want to pull their heart and soul into this game. Whether or not it happens, I don't think it's up to them. We've just got to hope and keep playing and see where it goes. We hope for the best, but yeah. Anyway, thank you for joining me today, and thank you for everybody who sent in comments on these posts. It's really, really great to encourage that feedback loop. If anyone at DICE sees this, to kind of see what we're thinking and to communicate as a community, it's important. So thank you for joining me today. I'll hope to see you in the next video, depending on what that's on and when that is. I don't know. I don't really have a schedule for these things. If something comes up, I'll talk about it. And if you do feel like subscribing or liking, feel free, go ahead. I make other content besides this, but these videos will be cropping up every once in a while. So thank you for watching, thank you for being here, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.